letting go of stuff from your past that maybe you've compartmentalized, but it's affecting how you hire, how you fire, how you treat your family. It affects everything when you're carrying around that kind of stuff. And many of
Mm.
us have that stuff. Well, the big one in America is guilt. It's somewhat a product of a Judeo-Christian
Mm.
background to our
Mhm.
country. And, especially the Catholics and the Jews, they seem to have a monopoly on guilt. So dealing,
Yeah.
feeling it, confessing it, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not in Japan. They
Mm.
don't feel guilty. They feel shame.
Mm.
Very different. Guilt is how you feel about something you did. Shame is how you showed up to someone else, to a person, to a culture, to your company, whatever. It's external, not totally, but mostly external. So we changed that part of our training when we figured that out. And again, what works, keep it. What doesn't work, look at something new. So we
Yeah.
dug into why people were not responding to our section on guilt
Mm.
and
Got
shifted it to shame. And I learned a whole lot about shame
mm.
and how it's different than for most Americans, we are shameless.
Mm.
We could probably do with a little more of it. That's one
Yeah.
of my realizations. But
Yeah.
there were things like that. There were things in business practice.
Mm.
I joined the American Chamber of Commerce in Japan. I did it for selfish reasons to
Mm.
network and find clients.
Mhm.
But I learned so much from those meetings, from running a committee and then being on the board of directors, board of governors, I think that was what they called it, because I got to hang out with people that were models for what I wanted to create. They were running bigger games than me.
Mm.
I had never had any experience with big corporations. So I
Yeah.
learned from them a lot. But that's an awareness thing. Are you open to learning? And I had informal mentors and coaches and then formal ones. I now have 3 coaches. And, people reach out to me and say, well, I'm thinking about hiring a coach. But, what should I do? Because I no longer do life coaching. I only work with executives and their teams.
Mm.
So they'll call me and say, well, how do I select a coach? And my answer is always the same, which is, first of all, have they been there and done that in their lives? Do they have actual life experience? But then secondly, do they have a coach?
Mm.
A coach without a coach is not one I would ever hire,
Mm.
because you've got to do what you're promoting to others. And you got to keep learning about yourself. And based on your experience, I think you become a much better coach and mentor. So I don't know why I did that in those days, but I did. But part of it was I was not enough.
Mm.
It goes back to that same thing. So
Yeah.
I've been to more than 50 seminars outside of our work. Some of those for me and knowing I need to continue to plug myself into the growth experiences, and some because I'm in that industry, I want to know what's going on. I've only walked out of 3, so I've learned something that was useful in most of them,
Mhm.
over 90% of them. I think that going abroad is like that.